Hi, we're Kyle and Julie Parton. Welcome to the first session of Couple Talk, cracking the code to an amazing relationship.
We're excited to be your Couple Talk video hosts because this program transformed our marriage, and we wholeheartedly believe that it will greatly improve your relationship too.
We were 6 months into marriage when we attended our first Couple Talk class, and man, did we need it.
We were madly in love with each other and the Lord. We had a ton of common interests, and we had a lot of fun together.
But we also struggled with many of the same issues all young couples struggle with, from which way the toilet paper roll should face, to what it means to live on a budget, from who washes the dishes, to dealing with my in-laws.
And anytime we tried to talk about any of these issues, one of us would get so angry that they would just shut down, and the other ended up in tears. We didn't know how to get unstuck when it came time to discussing about matters of life or matters of the heart.
Like I said, man, we needed Couple Talk. The communication skills and conflict resolution tools we learned helped us get unstuck whenever we had to talk about a hot topic or touchy issues or even have heated discussions.
We are thrilled that you are going through this program. But be aware, Couple Talk is not your typical video-based program.
That's right. As a couple in ministry, we have seen a ton of video programs. Couple Talk is different than most anything else that we've ever seen.
First, Couple Talk is an experiential program. As the daughter of a Southern Baptist preacher, that word still makes one of my eyebrows raise up. But what we mean is that during each session, you and your partner will have ample opportunities to practice what you are learning on the spot.
Video-based programs are often called plug and play, which is code for stare at the screen and zone out of your mind. Not with Couple Talk, but that is why it's more of an experience than an actual program.
Second, Couple Talk teaches relationship skills and communication tools that really work.
Where a lot of video-based marriage programs talk about biblical principles for great marriages and share insights and tips on communication, Couple Talk is a hands-on program that gives couples the tools and the skills to communicate and resolve conflict.
Finally, be prepared. Couple Talk will have an immediate impact on your relationship.
Don and Alex Flecky, who developed Couple Talk, are gifted teachers. They've been married for over 30 years and have taught thousands of couples about marriage and relationship issues.
We love how authentic they are. They share from their own personal experience and include their struggles.
The real impact of Couple Talk is what you do with their teaching and exercises that they lead you through. We sat in the class, we took the notes, we wrote in our workbooks, we did the exercises during the sessions, and we continue to practice what we learned in the class at our home. And the results were astounding. All right, enough with us. Let's get started with Couple Talk. This is the first session of part 1, cracking the code to a deeper connection.
Open your workbooks, get out your pens, take some notes, and get ready to learn a ton. Here are Don and Alex Flecky with today's session called Trading Places.
Welcome to Couple Talk. We're excited for you to learn Couple Talk and help you crack the code to a deeper connection. I'm Don.
And I'm Alex, and sometimes people get us mixed up thinking I'm Don, D-A-W-N, and he's Alex, but I'm Alexandra. I go by Alex.
We've been married over 30 years. We have 3 adult kids, and we've been teaching couples for over almost 25 years. And I was thinking about how long we've been doing this and how many couples we've taught, and realized that we've taught hundreds of classes. Many different relationship topics, and actually thousands of couples.
Some say that the most significant issues that contribute to divorce are money, sex, and kids. But we contend that it's not those issues that will lead to divorce or could determine whether you divorce. It's the way you communicate about those issues. It's the ability to communicate about money, the ability to communicate about sex and about kids that determines whether a couple is going to end up falling apart or merely surviving or thriving. And we believe, we know it's possible to thrive no matter what the issue, and that's why we developed Couple Talk.
Here's a bit of our story.
Right. I'm from the East Coast. I was born in Philadelphia, so that's where I'm told my accent still is, you can tell. I'm from Philadelphia. And then when I was about 10, my whole family moved to Fort Lauderdale, to Florida. When I was in high school, my parents divorced, but that's not when the troubles started happening. It was all throughout my whole life. So basically, there are two ways to handle conflict. When people have a conflict, some people want to approach it and attack it, and they end up attacking their partners, attackers. Others tend to kind of want to maybe sweep it under the rug, let's not deal with it out in the open, and they tend to be avoiders. And in my family, we come from a long line of attackers. It is one of those things where you never let an issue go. You use whatever verbal weapons you have at hand. And I saw my parents having conflict using all sorts of those kinds of weapons. There was mocking and accusations and belittling and loud voices. Sort of the motto was, attack first, ask questions later. More like just attack and then keep attacking. Why bother to ask questions? So it was not actually a very safe place to grow up, and it was definitely not a place to learn about having a healthy marriage. So those were my formative years. And when I went to college at University of Florida, my freshman roommate assigned to me was a Christian. And so she led me to Christ. So I came out of that lost state and began a relationship with my new parent, my Heavenly Father. And during that next year, spent time learning about Christ and following Him and growing. And about a year later, moved out to California where I met Don.
And I'm a West Coast kid, born and lived all my life in Southern California. I came from an intact family, and we always had a lot of family around, a lot of fun times, good relationships with our family. But we were of the other ilk. We were avoiders. In my family, we didn't ever openly fight. In fact, I didn't see my parents openly fight at all. One time, I saw my dad raise his voice, and it just scared me to death. It was the only time I had ever seen that happen. I didn't see them work out conflicts. I would see my mom pursue him and say, listen, we got to talk about this or that, and he'd just walk out of the room. So it seemed to me that the motto in my family was never lose your cool. And if you think you're about to lose your cool, leave, walk out. I'm a couple of years older than Alex, and I had committed to Christ when I was in college. Had been a Christian for a couple of years before I met her. She was 19, I was 21, and we dated for 2 years. We had a really wonderful courtship, a Christian courtship for 2 years. Shared our mutual faith, had values in common, talked about everything. Whenever we had a disagreement of some kind, we'd talk about it logically. This is a picture of Mount St. Helens on May 17th, 1980. A beautiful mountain in the state of Washington. This is it on May 18th, 1980. On May 18th, two cataclysmic events happened. One was the volcano that was Mount St. Helens erupted.
Right, it was a major event. There were over 60 deaths. There was tremendous destruction. Ash came all throughout the West Coast.
The other cataclysmic event is that we got married. And it turns out that Mount St. Helens is a perfect metaphor for our relationship. Beautiful, idyllic one day, and blown apart and devastated the next day. Even the spewing ash is a metaphor for the angry, hurt, attacking things we said to each other. And it was a drastic change, not something we expected. We didn't consciously choose it, but we kind of automatically just started using the tools we had learned in our families growing up. She attacked, and I tried to get away. I tried to defend myself, tried to not talk about it, and avoid the situation just like I'd seen in my family. And I would do that until finally I would explode. Mm-hmm. We didn't intend to do this. It was unconscious. And I came to the point where, as we went back and forth like this, and it seemed to be worsening over a period of several months, I came to a point where I believed that I had made the biggest mistake of my life. I was discouraged. I was depressed. And I couldn't understand how I could have been so blind.
Right, right. And I was miserable too, but wasn't that what marriage was about? So I was just doing what's normal.
And because of my faith, I didn't have the sense that I could divorce. So I thought, I'm stuck now with her for the rest of my life. And I was very, very down about it. And I realized that the way that we were communicating about our differences was not working. I had to try something different. So I made a choice. I said, Alex, I'm not going to get into these kinds of arguments with you anymore. I changed the way I reacted to her attacks.
Right, he changed our pattern, and I kind of couldn't attack the old way anymore. He wasn't my partner anymore in this kind of argument pattern we had created. And so it made me have to do different things too. And there was soon a little bit less attacking, fewer insults, and I ended up realizing our marriage wasn't doomed, and that a little bit of hope really can go a long way.
Looking back, I realized that it was our communication, our conflict pattern, that was causing so many of the problems. And it turns out that marrying Alex wasn't the biggest mistake of my life. I wasn't blind. She really is who I thought she was. And it frightens me to think of what would have happened if I would have left, if I would have divorced. I would have missed out on being partnered with really the most wonderful person in my life. And the experiences and the closeness and the life we've had together, to think about missing that is terrible. So Couple Talk can bring those kinds of changes into your lives.
Right. Now we had the hope. We started to get hope back, but we had a lot of work to do still. I had to change the natural tendency that I had to attack first and only, and learn how to be respectful, even if I had hurt feelings or angry feelings, and learn how to stop interrupting and begin listening.
And I had to change my natural pattern to avoid. When I'm attacked, my instinct is to run. And instead, I've had to force myself to face it and speak honestly to Alex about what my frustrations are. That's what Couple Talk's about, changing unhealthy communication habits and building new ones. Using the kind of communication that brings you close and helps you resolve differences and problems. Let's turn to the workbook. I'm going to ask you now to go to the table of contents. Couple Talk has two parts. Cracking the code to a deeper connection is where we're going to start today. Later, we will crack the code to handling conflict.
What we ask is that you follow along, fill in the blanks, mark in your workbook, and do these things because it really helps you retain and remember what you're learning and apply it later. So what I'd like you to do is turn to session 1, where we'd like to tell you about Couple Talk. Couple Talk teaches practical communication skills, ways of speaking and listening.
Watch this clip of a typical couple conflict. Think about how they speak and listen to each other. Pay attention in this clip to what's not working for them. What are they doing wrong?
Jeannie, what is this credit card bill?
What?
How are we ever going to get out of debt if you keep spending money on junk?
It's not junk. I had to buy a couple outfits for the conference. Besides, you spent way more on that golf trip.
There you go again with the golf trip. You know, I work really, really hard.
You know what? You act like you're the only one who works around here. I work full-time too, and then I have to come home and do all this around the house. What do you ever do to help out the family?
Let's see. I worked all day the other day fixing the faucet.
Yeah, good job. And it's still leaking. You're a great handyman.
Well, you know, at least I try very, very hard to save money for this family while you continue to spend money uncontrollably.
You're ridiculous. You act like you do everything around here and you don't even know the half of it. Who's the one who has to always go pick up the kids?
Oh, really? Always pick up the kids? Let me remind you, last week I got a phone call from the school because you forgot to pick up our children.
I can't believe you're bringing that up. You know how bad that made me feel, and you keep throwing that in my face like you never make mistakes.
Oh, I make mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes, and the biggest mistake was 15 years ago.
Okay, talk to your partner for 30 seconds about what you noticed in that clip. What were they doing wrong?
Turn and talk to your partner.
Okay, let me ask you as a group, I'd like you to give some feedback. What did you notice that they did wrong in that clip?
One of the first things I saw was they used always and never a lot.
Uh-huh.
Always
Sure
and
did.
never.
Yeah, that's right.
They always do.
They are, yeah.
Yeah. All right, what else?
I
Tia.
feel like they kept trying to one-up each other. Like whenever they accuse someone, it's like the next level of, well, it wasn't as bad as when you did this, and it was just these levels of trying to compete.
Yeah, kind of a battle, wasn't it? Yeah, who's going to win? Right. Did you see much listening going on in that skit? Not so much, huh? A lot of talking, not much listening. Don't we all do that? I mean, if we're honest with each other and we admit that, well, the good news is that couple magically went through a CoupleTalk class in that time we've been talking. Yeah. So they're going to have a talk about that same topic. Pay attention in this clip to what's different. And we want you to take notice of what they do right this time.
Jeannie, what is this credit card bill?
What?
How are we ever going to get out of debt if you keep spending money on junk?
It's not junk. I had to buy a couple outfits for the conference. Besides, you spent way more on that golf trip.
I'll tell you what, this is not going to go anywhere. If we continue to do this, we're going to fight. It's just going to be a horrible scene. So maybe we should just sit down, talk about this. Let's just use the skills that we learned in Couple Talk. Okay?
Okay.
Honey, I want to redo what I said a few moments ago. I do appreciate you. I appreciate the fact that you work really hard at your job, and then you come home and you work very hard at home, the way you take care of the kids, and I acknowledge that I see you trying to save money, you cut the coupons and so forth. But when I got that credit card statement, I just, I saw those charges and I just got really upset and kind of lost my cool.
So you acknowledge that I work really hard and that I am being careful about my spending, but when you got your credit card statement, it made you angry and you had a lot of pressure about making the monthly payments.
Yeah, I feel a lot of pressure. I feel sometimes that I'm just alone in this situation in regards to our finances. There are times that I'm feeling very just hopeless about things, and boy, sometimes it really gets discouraging,
So you feel down because no matter how hard we try, we just can't seem to get out of our financial issue.
Yeah.
Well, as I see it, you work really hard and so do I. And I just want you to know that I worked at trying to be careful about spending, and I only spent what I needed for the conference. And I was really nervous about handing over that credit card.
Well, you work really hard, and you were careful, with spending the money, and you were nervous when you handed the credit card over, probably because you were worried that I might get upset at you when I got the credit card statement. I'm glad to know that you recognize what we're going through, because I felt alone for quite a long time, and so thank you very much. I'd like to just sit and talk and figure out a way that we can work together and get this mess cleared up.
So you're relieved that I'm being cautious about my spending and that we're both taking responsibility for our finances. And you'd like to take a fresh look at what we're doing and try and work on our getting out of this debt?
Exactly, yes.
Great. This feels really good. I think we're going to be able to work this out.
Fantastic.
Take 30 seconds and talk to your partner about what they did right. Go.
Go ahead and talk to your partner.
Okay, we'd like to hear from some of you. What did you notice that they did right that time? Sarah?
Well, I noticed that they caught themselves before it escalated, so they were able to diffuse the situation.
Yeah.
They recognized what was going to happen.
Yep. Uh-huh. Good.
And
Jerome?
as we were discussing, I mean, even in the first time, they had such distance between them, and this time when they caught themselves, they came together and they sat down and they addressed it, and it was more intimate, and they took the time to be with each other.
They were in separate rooms that first clip. They didn't even go, they were yelling across the, 2 rooms across versus getting together, sitting down, being right next to each other, yeah.
Jennifer?
And in addition to that, every time someone would share how they felt, the other person would repeat it back to them to make sure that it was clear and that they were being understood.
Yeah, good. You caught that. Nice. Anybody notice that there were some appreciations that went on in that? Yeah. Kind of changed the whole tone of that, didn't it? Yeah. He was ready to explode, and like Sarah mentioned, he caught himself and stopped and said, listen, we can do this a different way. And he began by talking about how he appreciated the work that she does and that she does try to watch her spending. And that really sent that conversation in a whole different direction. Good. So as a result of having that kind of conversation, they'll experience more connection, they'll have more intimacy, more trust, and more teamwork together. Understanding each other, resolving conflict, planning solutions that leave both people satisfied. A lot of good stuff that's coming out of this.
One of the things we want to make a point about here, though, is to get to that point of learning these kinds of skills and to get skillful at it, to get good at it, it takes practice. So you've got to practice.
Couple Talk is backed by research. The original program that inspired Couple Talk is one of the first marriage programs ever written. And it was written over 40 years ago by Dr. Bernard Gurney, who's known as the grandfather of marriage education. So we've taken this powerful program and blended in the scriptural elements that work so well with it. And that brings us to the third point. Couple Talk is set in a scriptural context. It's not a traditional Bible study. For example, it's not going to be a study in Ephesians or a study about biblical roles in marriage. We acknowledge the original author, the creator of marriage is God. And when he made it, he said it was very good. And marriage has wonderful benefits: companionship, oneness, sex, romance, fun, security, intimacy, one of God's greatest gifts to us.
And Scripture helps us know how to do marriage and relationships. Jesus tells us to love one another. And that's easy to do until you've been with the same person day after day after day, year after year after year. And we're told to speak the truth in love. We're also warned about the power of the tongue to destroy, but it also can build up. And so that's our focus, practical ways to live out these Christian principles.
So Couple Talk emerges out of the many scriptures that teach us about communication, dealing with conflict, and relationships. And from that are the Couple Talk core values. So in your workbook, you see that the cross represents a couple relationship with the creator of marriage at the center. On the left side, write openness and honesty. We want you to be able to have openness and honesty as you relate to your partner. But have you ever known someone who was brutally honest? Yeah. How'd that feel? Unsafe? Yeah. Offensive? Right. You probably felt attacked. On the right side, write caring and compassion. We need honesty, but we want it to be blended with care and compassion as we're telling the truth. Too much honesty can be an attack. Too much compassion might be avoiding talking about things that need to be talked about. Putting them together is a sweet blend. And on the bottom, write the word commitment. That's the third core value, commitment. What I want as an individual and what Alex wants for herself is not as important as what our marriage needs. So there's a separate commitment that we make to us, to our relationship. That's the third core value. Let's invite God to help us in this class to learn and experience His gift of marriage as He intended it when He created it. And we'll use CoupleTalk to help you get there. Lord, help us in this class to learn the principles that You designed and that You intend for relationships. Help us to overcome any bad habits that we bring into the relationship, and help us to learn to have the kind of marriage that You intended when You thought of the whole thing. Be with us and guide us and help us. In Jesus' name, amen. We've got an exercise now that we love ending our sessions with. We call it partner appreciations.
And the fact is that most of us don't do this enough. We tend to point out the things our partner did wrong, right? We point out the mistakes, or we give helpful advice because we just want to make them better people. But in reality, what we all really want is to hear those positives about us. We want more support from our partner. So what we're asking you to do is think about those things you appreciate and admire about your partner and say them out loud.
So we're going to simply ask you to tell your partner something that you appreciate about them. And in your workbook, we describe some of the things you might want to choose from, such as something you admire about them, something you appreciate that they do, a special quality they have, a time they made some extra effort for you, something from the past that you remember and really appreciate.
This is the kind of thing that really can build deeper connections. So we have lots of opportunities in here in CoupleTalk to do this. This is your first opportunity.
So you'll tell your partner something you appreciate, and after that's been done, your partner cannot just say, "Thanks, that's nice, felt good." No. Your partner will summarize back to you what was just said to them, that appreciation, such as, "You appreciate that I do such and such."
Right, and that gives you kind of a double dose of appreciation. You hear it from your partner, and then, as you're summarizing it back, that helps you internalize it more. Your partner gave you an appreciation. Take it in and feel good about that. And we all need that, especially from our partners.
So we're going to do a demonstration.
Dawn is going to do an appreciation of me. We always do this, whoever can say first who gives an appreciation. So Dawn's going to be giving me one, right? There's so many to choose from.
That's right. I could go on for a week.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So one of the things I really appreciate about you is how supportive you are to me when I want to go on a golf trip with the guys or a fishing trip with the guys.
So you appreciate that I support you when you want to go fishing or golfing, and you end up having a good time because you know that you don't have to come back and face somebody who's maybe going to make you feel guilty or something like that.
Okay. So then she would give an appreciation back to me But we won't model that now because we want to get you guys doing it yourselves. So it's your turn to give each other an appreciation just the way you saw that. Go ahead and turn your chairs so that you're facing each other knee to knee, and we want you each to give that appreciation to each other. Go.
Get knee to knee with each other and start the exercise.
You're halfway done. If you haven't already done so, it's time to switch roles. Turn back to the video. It's time to start again.
Good. Now we'd like you to mark in your workbook and reflect on what that was like for you.
We'll give you 1 minute for that.
On your own, complete the quick debrief.
So we'd like to hear from the group. What was that like to hear those appreciations from your partner? Carissa?
It was refreshing. The one that he mentioned about me, I didn't even remember it. And it's because I guess it was so little in my mind that I didn't think anything of it. And so it was nice to hear what he appreciated. So now I know it makes me want to do it more.
Right, so that little thing that you thought was just a nothing little thing, it just shows you that our partners might really be feeling good about it, but maybe because we didn't mention it, we don't know. So it makes you, so you get something out of it too. She sounds like she's going to be doing that more. Good deal.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's funny because mine was like the opposite. I feel like she complimented me on something that I make a conscious effort to do, and it validated what I like to.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so it was something you deliberately are trying to do that's good. And what's wonderful about it is she experienced it and showed you that she's appreciating what you're doing. That's great. Yeah.
Now it's time for you to talk to your partner for just a minute or so and tell each other what you thought of that exercise, how it struck you. Go.
Turn and talk to your partner.
Okay, I got to bring you back together. We're going to wrap up.